Welcome to my channel. I'm your friend, and here we don't just listen to stories. We feel them. If you love mystery, thrillers, and emotional journeys, then you're in the right place. So let's begin today's story. Last night at Motel 307, Route 66 looks romantic in photographs. Endless road, faded signs, open sky. But at night, that highway feels different. The air gets heavier, the silence stretches longer, and every passing mile feels like it's pulling you away from somewhere safe. Ethan didn't plan to stop. He had been driving since New Mexico, chasing daylight that kept slipping away. His phone showed barely any signal. The GPS kept recalculating, then gave up completely. Gas was low. Coffee had stopped working hours ago. That's when he saw the sign. Motel vacancy. The letters flickered like they were struggling to stay alive. The building sat a little away from the road, half hidden behind dead trees and dust. A long single-story structure, paint peeling, windows dark. The parking lot was almost empty, just one old pickup truck near the far end. Ethan slowed down. Every instinct told him to keep driving. But the fuel gauge was louder than his instincts. He pulled in. The gravel crunched under his tires, the sound echoing too sharply in the quiet night. When he stepped out of the car, the smell hit him first. Dust, rust, and something damp underneath. Like rain that never dried. The office light was on. Inside, an old man sat behind the counter. Thin, pale eyes fixed on a small TV that wasn't actually showing anything, just static and a faint hum. The bell on the counter rang when Ethan tapped it. The man looked up slowly. "You staying the night?" he asked. His voice was calm, too calm. "Yeah," Ethan said. "Just one night." The man nodded, reached for a dusty ledger, and flipped through pages yellowed with age. His finger stopped. "All rooms are available," he said. Then, almost as an afterthought, added, "except 307. Ethan didn't ask why. He just shrugged. "Any room's fine." The man wrote something down, slid a key across the counter. "Room 305, he said. "Checkout is at 10. Ethan hesitated. "What's wrong with 307? The man's hand froze for half a second. Then he smiled. "Maintenance issues." It didn't sound convincing, but Ethan was too tired to push. Outside, the motel felt even quieter. No insects, no wind. Just the hum of the highway far away, like a memory instead of a sound. Room 305 was clean enough. Old carpet, faded curtains, a bed that looked like it had seen decades of strangers. Ethan dropped his bag, locked the door, and collapsed onto the mattress. That's when he heard it. A door opening. Soft, careful, somewhere nearby. Then footsteps. Not outside. Inside the building. He sat up, listening. The footsteps moved slowly down the corridor, stopping, stopping again, as if whoever it was didn't want to be heard. Ethan glanced at the clock. 11:47 p.m. A knock echoed down the hallway. Not on his door. 2 rooms down. He waited. No response. Then another knock. This time closer. Ethan stood, pressed his ear to the door. The sound felt wrong, too deliberate, too patient. Finally, he heard a voice. A woman's voice. Soft, trembling. "Please, I need help." The words crawled under his skin. The footsteps moved again, passing his room, heading further down the corridor. Ethan exhaled, telling himself it was nothing. Another guest. Someone lost. Someone drunk. Still, sleep didn't come easily. Sometime after midnight, Ethan woke up to a sound that didn't belong in a motel room. Breathing. Not his. Slow, shallow, right beside the bed. His eyes snapped open. The room was empty. The door was still locked. The window still closed. His heart hammered as he sat up, scanning every corner. Nothing. Just darkness and the faint buzz of the neon sign outside. Then he heard it again. From the wall, a muffled voice. "Hello?" Ethan froze. The sound was coming from the room next door. "Can anyone hear me?" He pressed his ear against the wall. The voice was clearer now, female, frightened, whispering like she was afraid of being overheard. "I've been here all night," she said. "They said I could leave in the morning." But no one came. Ethan swallowed hard. "What room are you in?" he asked, his voice barely steady. There was a pause. Then the answer came. 307. Ethan stepped back as if the wall had burned him. Room 307. The room the old man said was empty. The room with maintenance issues. Ethan looked at his door, looked at the key on the table, looked back at the wall. "Hey," he said, forcing calm into his voice. "Are you okay?" Another pause. "I don't know," the woman whispered. "They won't answer the door. My phone doesn't work. And every time I try to sleep, I hear someone standing over me." The neon sign outside flickered. The lights in Ethan's room dimmed, then steadied. "Please," the voice said, Don't leave me alone. Ethan stood there, heart racing, mind screaming that this was wrong, that he should go to the office, wake the manager, do something rational. But deep down, a colder thought crept in. If room 307 was empty, who was talking to him? And why did it sound so afraid of the morning? To be continued, Ethan didn't sleep after that. He sat on the edge of the bed, fully dressed, shoes on, keys in his pocket. Every few seconds, his eyes drifted back to the wall that separated him from room 307. Nothing. No voice. No movement. No breathing. Just silence. The kind of silence that makes your ears ring. At 1:18 a.m., he finally stood up. This is stupid, he muttered to himself. You're tired. That's all. Still, he unlocked the door and stepped into the corridor. The hallway lights were dim, buzzing softly like insects trapped in glass. The carpet smelled old, damp, and vaguely metallic. Each step felt louder than it should have. Room numbers passed slowly. His room. 2 doors ahead, the number 307 hung crooked, barely visible. Ethan stopped. The door to 307 looked normal. Same faded brown paint. Same cheap handle. No police tape. No warning signs. No out-of-order notice. Just a door. He raised his hand, hesitated, then knocked. Once, twice. No answer. He leaned in, pressing his ear close. At first, nothing. Then faintly a sound. Scratching. Slow. Weak. Like fingernails dragging across wood. Hello? Ethan whispered. It's me, from next door. The scratching stopped. For a long moment, Ethan thought he imagined everything. Then the voice returned. You came, the woman whispered. Relief rushed through him, followed immediately by fear. Why is your door locked? He asked. Can you open it? Another pause. I tried, she said. It won't open from inside. Ethan grabbed the handle and twisted. Locked. Did you check in tonight? He asked. No, she replied. I checked in yesterday. Yesterday? Ethan frowned. What's your name? Megan. Something about the way she said it felt practiced, like she had answered that question before. Okay, Megan, Ethan said gently. I'm going to get the manager. We'll sort this out. No, she said quickly. Too quickly. Please don't. Why not? They don't like it when people ask questions, she whispered. Ethan felt a chill crawl up his spine. Who doesn't? The answer came softer. Everyone here. Before he could respond, the hallway lights flickered. Once, twice. Then the scratching started again, faster now, desperate. They're coming, Megan whispered. You need to go back to your room. Who's coming? Ethan demanded. But the voice was gone. The scratching stopped. Silence returned, thicker than before. Ethan backed away from the door. Every nerve in his body screamed at him to leave. To get in his car and drive. Empty tank or not, he turned and almost collided with someone. The old man from the office stood at the far end of the hallway, watching. How long have you been standing there? Ethan asked. The man smiled faintly. Long enough. Ethan's stomach tightened. There's someone in 307. The man's expression didn't change. No, there isn't. I just spoke to her. You spoke to something, the man corrected calmly. Not someone. Ethan laughed nervously. That's not funny. I'm not joking. The hallway lights buzzed louder. Ethan took a step back. Why is that room locked? Because it should stay closed, the man said. People don't just disappear from motel rooms, Ethan snapped. If someone's trapped in there, they don't disappear, the man interrupted. They stay. Ethan stared at him. What does that mean? The old man walked closer, his shoes barely making a sound on the carpet. Room 307 doesn't let go easily, he said. Especially of people who listen. Ethan felt anger rise through his fear. I'm calling the police. The man nodded. You can try. Ethan pulled out his phone. No signal. Not even emergency. He looked up. This isn't normal. No, the man agreed. This is Route 66. Before Ethan could respond, the man turned and walked away, disappearing into the darkness at the end of the corridor. Ethan stood there shaking. Then he heard it again. Not from the hallway. From behind him, a soft knock. On his door. He turned slowly. His door was closed. He hadn't locked it. Another knock. Megan? He whispered. Her voice came through the door this time, clearer, closer. I didn't want to go back, she said. But they made me. Ethan's hand hovered over the handle. Every instinct told him not to open it. Why me? He asked. There was a pause. Because you stopped, she said. Everyone else just drives past. The neon sign outside flickered violently, casting red light across the door. Megan, Ethan said, voice shaking. How long have you been here? Her answer came slowly. I don't remember checking out. The knocking grew louder. Harder. Please, she whispered. Just open the door. I don't want to be alone anymore. Ethan stepped back. That's not how checkout works, he said. Silence. Then her voice changed. Deeper. Colder. That's not how it worked for them either. The knocking stopped. The hallway lights went out completely. Darkness swallowed everything. And from inside room 307, something laughed. Low, quiet, satisfied. Ethan backed into the corner of his room, heart pounding, realizing one terrifying truth. Morning wasn't coming for everyone at Motel 307. And if he made the wrong choice tonight, it wouldn't come for him either. The knocking didn't return. That was worse. Ethan sat on the floor with his back against the bed, eyes fixed on the door. Minutes passed, maybe longer. Time felt thick, stretched, unreliable. Slowly, the hallway lights flickered back on. Buzz! Buzz! The neon sign outside steadied into a dull red glow. Silence. Ethan stood up, every muscle tense. He checked the door handle, locked now. He didn't remember locking it. He laughed under his breath. A short, broken sound. You're losing it, he whispered. But when he checked the clock, 3:07 a.m. The number made his chest tighten. He grabbed his jacket and stepped back into the hallway. Empty. Too empty. No old man, no sounds. Even the vending machine at the end of the hall was silent, its usual hum gone. Ethan walked toward room 307 again. The door was slightly open now. Just an inch. He stood there, breathing hard, staring at the darkness beyond the crack. Megan, he called. Nothing. He pushed the door open. The smell hit him first. Stale air, damp wood, something old and trapped. The room was darker than it should have been, like the light refused to settle properly. The furniture was outdated. Bed neatly made. Curtains drawn tight. No signs of a struggle. No person. Just a room. Ethan stepped inside. The door closed behind him. Softly. Too softly. He spun around and grabbed the handle. Locked. Okay, he said out loud, forcing calm. Okay. He turned back to the room. That's when he noticed the wall. Behind the bed, words were carved deep into the paint. Dozens of them, overlapping, jagged. Help me. I can't leave. I heard them too. Don't answer. And again. 307. Ethan stumbled back, heart racing. These are old, he muttered. Someone did this years ago. Then he noticed something worse. Some of the carvings were fresh. Wood splinters still pale beneath the paint. A sound came from the bathroom. Drip, drip, drip. Ethan didn't want to look, but he did. The bathroom mirror was fogged, as if someone had just taken a hot shower. The sink tap was slightly open. In the mirror, letters slowly formed, traced from the inside. Why did you open the door? Ethan staggered back. I didn't, he started. The reflection moved. Not him. Someone stood behind him in the mirror. A woman. Long dark hair, pale face. Eyes too tired to cry anymore. Megan. He spun around. Nothing. Back to the mirror, she was closer now. You shouldn't have listened, she said, her voice echoing strangely as if coming from underwater. You asked for help, Ethan said. You knocked. She tilted her head. So did you. The room temperature dropped suddenly. Ethan's breath fogged in the air. What happened here? He asked. Why does no one leave? Megan's expression hardened. Because this place doesn't forget, she said. And it doesn't forgive. The lights flickered violently. Images flashed in the mirror, too fast, too sharp. Police lights. Fire trucks. A burning motel room. People screaming. A hallway filled with smoke. Then, the old man, standing outside room 307, locking the door. Ethan's stomach twisted. He did this, he whispered. Megan shook her head slowly. He stayed, she said. That's worse. The door to the room rattled suddenly. Someone was trying to open it from outside. A familiar voice called out, Sir, are you in there? The old man. Megan's face changed instantly. Fear, raw and desperate. Don't answer, she begged. If he sees you in here, you won't leave. Ethan looked between the door and the mirror. Why me? He asked again. Megan's voice softened. Because you heard the call, she said. And you came back. The rattling stopped. Footsteps moved away. The mirror cracked down the middle. Megan began to fade, her outline blurring like smoke. Wait, Ethan shouted. How do I help you? Her voice echoed faintly. Don't stay past morning, she whispered. And whatever you hear next... The lights went out. Complete darkness. Then Ethan's phone vibrated in his pocket. A notification. No signal. But a voicemail appeared. Unknown caller. Timestamp 3:07 a.m. With shaking fingers, Ethan pressed play. A woman's voice came through the speaker. Crying, panicked. 911, please. He's outside my door. I'm in room 307. Ethan's blood ran cold. Because the voice on the recording was his own. Ethan dropped the phone. It hit the carpet face down, the screen still glowing faintly. For a few seconds, he couldn't move. His mind refused to accept what his ears had heard. The voice on the voicemail hadn't just sounded like him. It was him. Same tone, same pauses. Same slight hitch in breath he got when he was scared. That's not possible, he whispered into the darkness. The room answered with silence. Then, a click. The lamp beside the bed flickered on by itself. The room looked normal again. Too normal. No fog on the mirror. No carvings on the wall. No Megan. Ethan's heart pounded harder. He walked to the mirror slowly. Clear glass. No cracks, no writing. He turned back to the wall behind the bed. Smooth paint, as if nothing had ever been carved there. Okay, he said out loud, trying to ground himself. Okay, hallucinations, stress, no sleep. He checked his phone. No signal. No missed calls. No voicemail. The recording was gone, except for the timestamp in his call log. 3:07 a.m., outgoing call 911. His stomach twisted. I didn't make that call, he said. The clock on the bedside table ticked loudly now. 3:12 a.m. Ethan sat on the edge of the bed, rubbing his face with both hands. Then he noticed something under the door. Light. A shadow passed slowly across it. Footsteps. Stopping. Right outside room 307. A knock followed. Gentle, polite. The same knock as before. Ethan's breath caught. Sir? The old man's voice came through the door. Calm, almost kind. Everything all right in there? Ethan stared at the door, remembering Megan's words. Don't answer. He stayed silent. The handle moved slightly. Locked. A pause. Then the old man spoke again, closer now. You know, he said softly, most people don't last this long. Ethan's pulse spiked. What do you want? Ethan finally asked. Silence. Then a sigh. I want you to rest, the old man replied. You look tired. Ethan stood up. Where is Megan? Another pause. She checked out, the man said. That's a lie. The old man chuckled quietly. No one checks out of 307, he said. You should know that by now. The footsteps retreated. Ethan rushed to the door and yanked it open. The hallway was empty, but at the far end, near the stairs, he saw the old man's back as he disappeared around the corner. Ethan followed. The stairs creaked under his feet as he went down to the motel office. The lights inside were dim, yellow, sickly. The old man sat behind the counter, flipping through a large, worn guest register. He didn't look surprised to see Ethan. Couldn't sleep? He asked. Ethan slammed his hand on the counter. Who is Megan? The old man slowly closed the register. Why don't you tell me who you are? He replied. Ethan frowned. You know who I am. I checked in. The old man tilted his head. Did you? He slid the register across the counter. Look. Ethan hesitated, then leaned over. The pages were filled with names, dates, room numbers. He found his own name. Ethan Carter, room 307. Check-in time, 3:07 a.m. But he had arrived hours earlier. He flipped the page back. More names. All in the same room. All with the same check-in time. 3:07 a.m. No checkout dates. Just names. Dozens of them. Some written neatly. Some scratched, messy, almost desperate. At the bottom of one page, he saw a familiar name. Megan Holloway. Ethan looked up sharply. She stayed here, he said. She stayed, the old man corrected. Passed the night. Ethan's voice dropped. What happened to her? The old man's expression hardened slightly. She heard the call, he said. Just like you. What call? The old man leaned back in his chair. Every night, he said, at 3:07, someone reaches out. Fear has a way of echoing. Ethan's mind raced. You're saying the calls come from here? The old man tapped the register. From the room, he said. From the moment. Ethan swallowed. The fire. The old man didn't answer. Something happened here, Ethan pressed. A fire. People died. The old man stared at him for a long moment. Then he nodded slowly. 20 years ago, he said. Room 307 caught fire. Electrical fault. At least that's what the report said. How many people? Ethan asked. The old man's voice was quiet. More than were supposed to be there. Ethan felt a chill crawl up his spine. And you? He asked. What were you? The old man looked down at his hands. I was the night manager, he said. I heard the knocking. I smelled the smoke. His voice cracked just slightly, but I didn't open the door. The words hung heavy between them. You let them burn, Ethan whispered. The old man closed his eyes. I stayed, he said. And now? So do they. Ethan stepped back slowly. You're trapping people, he said, using their fear. The old man shook his head. I don't trap anyone. The room does. And Megan? She tried to leave, the old man said. After morning, Ethan's chest tightened. What happens after morning? The old man looked at him. You forget who you were, he said, and you start answering the phone. A loud ringing cut through the office. The landline phone on the counter lit up. 307 flashed on its small screen. The old man didn't move. He looked at Ethan. It's for you, he said. Ethan stared at the phone. The ringing grew louder, more insistent. On the display, words appeared slowly, as if being typed by an unseen hand. Room 307 calling. Ethan's hand trembled as he reached for the receiver. Somewhere deep inside him, a terrible thought formed. What if the voice he heard earlier wasn't a recording? What if it was his future? The phone kept ringing, and above them, in room 307, something waited. The ringing stopped the moment Ethan lifted the receiver. No click, no static, just breathing. Slow, shallow, familiar. Hello? Ethan said. The voice on the other end answered immediately. You're late. Ethan's fingers tightened around the phone. Who is this? A pause. Then softly, almost gently, you already know. The line went dead. The old man watched him carefully, his eyes dark, unreadable. You shouldn't have picked it up, he said. Ethan slammed the receiver back onto the cradle. That was me, he said. That voice. It was me. The old man nodded once. That's how it starts. Ethan backed away from the counter. No, I'm leaving. Right now. The old man didn't stop him. He didn't try. That's what Megan said too, he murmured. Ethan turned sharply. You said she stayed past morning. Yes, so she's still here. The old man's gaze drifted toward the ceiling, toward room 307. She's here, he said. Just not the way you mean. Ethan ran for the stairs. The hallway felt longer than before, stretching unnaturally as he moved. The lights flickered with each step, buzzing louder, angrier. He reached the door to room 307. It was wide open. Inside, the room was different again. The air was thick, heavy with smoke. Burn marks crawled along the walls like black veins. The bed was charred, half collapsed. The carpet was soaked with something dark. Ethan covered his mouth, coughing. Megan, he shouted. A sound answered him. Not a voice. Crying. Coming from the bathroom. He stepped inside slowly. The bathtub was filled with blackened water. Ash floated on the surface. And there, sitting in the tub, knees pulled to her chest, was Megan. Her skin was pale, almost gray. Burn marks traced her arms and neck, but her eyes were alive. She looked up at him. You came back, she said. Ethan rushed forward and knelt beside the tub. I'm getting you out of here. Megan shook her head weakly. You can't. Why not? She lifted one trembling hand and pressed it against his chest. You don't belong to now, she whispered. The room trembled. For a moment the walls peeled away, not physically, but visually, like a memory tearing open. Ethan saw it. The fire, flames racing up the curtains, smoke choking the air, people screaming, pounding on the door. Megan, alive, panicked, dialing 911 again and again. No signal, she sobbed in the memory. Please, please. Outside the door, the old man, younger, frozen, hand on the handle, hearing everything, doing nothing. The memory snapped shut. Ethan staggered back, breath ragged. This place is a loop, he said hoarsely. Megan nodded, a moment that never finished. Then why me? Her eyes filled with tears. Because you answered. The lights flickered violently. From the hallway, footsteps approached. Slow, heavy. The old man's voice drifted in. You shouldn't interfere, he called. You'll only make it worse. Ethan turned toward the door. You did this. No, the old man replied. I survived it. The temperature dropped sharply. The phone on the bedside table rang again. Ethan ignored it. The ringing grew louder. Megan grabbed his arm. If it keeps ringing, it means the room is choosing. Choosing what? Who stays? She whispered. The walls began to close in, not physically, but in feeling. The room felt smaller, tighter, like it was breathing. Ethan made a decision. He grabbed the phone, and instead of answering, he smashed it against the wall. The ringing stopped instantly. Silence slammed down hard. The room shuddered. Megan gasped, her grip tightening. What did you do? Ethan met her eyes. I stopped listening. The burn marks on the walls began to fade. The smoke thinned. For the first time, the room felt still. Outside, the old man screamed. A sound of pure panic. No, don't! His voice broke. Footsteps ran away from the door. Megan stared at Ethan in disbelief. No one's ever done that, she whispered. Ethan helped her stand. She was light, too light, like a shadow trying to hold weight. Can you leave? He asked. She shook her head slowly. Not yet. The floor creaked beneath them. From the mirror, a reflection appeared. Not Ethan. Not Megan. The old man stood there, older than before, his face hollow, terrified. You don't understand, the reflection pleaded. If it ends, I end too. Ethan stepped forward. You already should have. The mirror cracked. The reflection screamed and vanished. The motel lights went out. Complete darkness. Then, morning light crept through the window. Pale quiet. Ethan checked his watch. 6:14 a.m. The room looked normal again. No burns. No smoke. Megan stood beside him, clearer now, more solid. You broke the pattern, she said softly. But it isn't finished. Ethan exhaled shakily. What's left? She looked at the door. One last call, she said. And someone has to answer it. Downstairs, the motel office phone began to ring. Once, twice, 3 times. And Ethan knew whatever answered this time wouldn't be pretending anymore. The ringing downstairs didn't stop. It wasn't loud. It wasn't urgent. It was patient. Ethan and Megan stood frozen in room 307, listening as the sound echoed faintly up through the floorboards. Steady, deliberate like a heartbeat. You don't have to go, Megan said quietly. Ethan looked at her. In the morning light, she almost looked real now. Color had returned to her face. Her eyes no longer seemed trapped in the same endless night. But someone will answer, Ethan replied. If it's not me, it'll be someone else. Megan swallowed. That's how it keeps going. Ethan nodded once. He stepped into the hallway. The motel felt different in daylight, emptier, but not safer. The neon sign outside was off. Dust floated in the air. The place smelled old, abandoned, like it hadn't truly been lived in for years. As Ethan descended the stairs, memories that weren't his began to surface. Voices, footsteps, laughter, fear. Not as visions, but as emotions stitched into the walls. The office door was open. The old man wasn't there. The phone rang again. Ethan walked behind the counter and stared at it. The display didn't show a number, just words. Incoming 307. He lifted the receiver. The ringing stopped instantly. 911, what's your emergency? Ethan said, his voice steady despite the tremor in his chest. Silence. Then, fire. He could hear it, crackling, roaring, the sound of something hungry. A woman screamed in the background. Then another voice broke through, hoarse, desperate. There's smoke everywhere, the caller gasped. The door won't open. Ethan's throat tightened. What's your location? He asked. Motel, Route 66, room 307, the voice said. Ethan closed his eyes. I need you to listen to me, he said gently. You have to stay low. Cover your mouth. Help is on the way. The caller laughed weakly. That's what they said last time. Ethan opened his eyes. What do you mean? The line crackled. They never came, the voice whispered. No one came. The phone line filled with coughing. Then another sound, pounding. From inside the call, someone was knocking on a door. The same knock. 3 slow taps. Ethan's grip tightened. Someone's outside, the caller cried. He can hear me. Ethan's chest burned. Open the door, he said firmly. Please don't wait. Silence. Then the caller spoke again, softer now. He's scared, the voice said. Just like you. The line went dead. Ethan lowered the receiver slowly. Behind him, the office lights flickered. The wall clock jumped backward. 6:14 a.m., 5:59 a.m., 5:12 a.m. The motel was rewinding. No, Ethan whispered. No, no, no. Footsteps echoed from the hallway. Heavy, familiar. The old man appeared in the doorway. But he looked different. Younger, less hollow. His eyes burned with fear. You don't understand what you're doing, he said. If the calls stop, it all collapses. Ethan turned to face him. Good. The old man stepped forward. This place needs a keeper. Ethan shook his head. It needs an ending. The phone rang again, louder this time. The old man lunged for it. Ethan moved faster. He grabbed the receiver first. Don't, the old man shouted. If you answer again, Ethan spoke into the phone. 911, I'm here. The voice on the line was different. Calmer. You came back, it said. Yes, Ethan replied. And this time, you're not alone. The office walls began to tremble. The air grew hot. Smoke curled along the ceiling. The old man screamed as the floor beneath him cracked, blackened marks spreading like fire scars. No, he shouted. I stayed. I paid for it. Ethan looked at him, his voice firm but heavy. You didn't pay, he said. You hid. The phone line filled with voices now. Dozens. Men, women, children. All overlapping, all calling for help. Ethan stood his ground. I hear you, he said, and I'm not looking away. The motel groaned like a living thing in pain. Upstairs, doors slammed open. Room after room, lights flared and died. The old man fell to his knees, clutching his head. "This isn't how it's supposed to end," he sobbed. Ethan lowered the receiver back onto the cradle. The ringing stopped, for good. The silence that followed wasn't empty. It was relieved. The heat vanished. The smoke cleared. Sunlight poured through the office windows. The old man looked up, had a confused, smaller somehow. "Where am I?" he asked weakly. Ethan didn't answer. Megan appeared in the doorway behind Ethan. She looked peaceful now, whole. "It's over," she said softly. The old man's body faded, slowly, gently, like ash carried away by a breeze. The motel creaked one final time, then went still. Ethan exhaled deeply. Megan stepped closer. "You did what no one else could." Ethan looked at her. "Can you leave now?" She smiled sadly. "Yes." The sunlight touched her, and she began to fade. "Thank you," she said, "for answering." She disappeared. Outside, the motel sign flickered once, then went dark. Ethan stepped out onto Route 66. The highway stretched empty in both directions. Behind him, the motel was gone. Just dirt, weeds, a cracked foundation, as if it had never existed. Ethan stood alone, the wind brushing past him. His phone vibrated. One notification. Voicemail. Timestamp 3:07 a.m. Ethan stared at the screen. Then slowly, he deleted it and kept walking. But far away, somewhere along another stretch of road, a phone began to ring. The road was silent. Ethan had been walking for what felt like hours. But the landscape never seemed to change. Route 66 stretched endlessly, asphalt shimmering under a pale sky that couldn't decide whether it was morning or dusk. He checked his phone again. No signal. No time. No notifications. Except the voicemail icon was back. Ethan stopped. "I deleted you," he whispered. The screen lit up on its own. New voicemail, 3:07 a.m. His pulse quickened. He looked around. There was nothing. No buildings. No cars, no motel. Just wind. Slowly, against every instinct screaming at him not to, Ethan pressed play. Static. Then breathing. Not panicked this time. Controlled. Measured. "Hello, Ethan," a voice said. It wasn't Megan. It wasn't the old man. It sounded like him. Ethan's stomach dropped. "You did well back there," the voice continued. "You closed one door." Ethan clenched the phone. "Who is this?" A soft chuckle. "You know the answer," the voice replied. Every system needs someone who answers when no one else can. The road ahead began to shift. Lights appeared in the distance, neon flickering. A sign slowly came into focus. Motel. No number. No name. Just one light glowing upstairs. 3rd floor. One window. Ethan shook his head. "No, it's over." The voice sighed. That's what the last one said too. Memories flooded Ethan's mind, not his own. A dispatcher falling asleep at his desk. A woman answering one last call after a double shift. A man who picked up when the line should have been dead. All of them thought they were ending something. They were only replacing it. Ethan backed away. The neon buzzed louder. "You don't have to go inside," the voice said calmly. "You just have to answer." The phone rang. Not from his hand. From the empty road behind him. Ethan turned slowly. A payphone stood there, rusted, cracked, absolutely impossible. It rang once. Twice. 3 times. Ethan's chest tightened. "If I don't answer?" he asked. The voice softened. "Then someone else will. Someone less kind. Less careful." The ringing echoed across the empty highway. Ethan closed his eyes. For a moment, he saw Megan's face. Not trapped, not afraid, free. He stepped toward the phone, then stopped. "No," he said quietly. "That's how it wins." The ringing grew frantic. Ethan turned away and began to walk, faster this time, refusing to look back. The ringing followed him. Then, silence. The road dissolved into white. Ethan stumbled forward and woke up. He was lying on asphalt. Real asphalt. Cars rushed past. A modern highway sign loomed above him. Route 66, Ridge County. A passerby shouted, "Hey, you okay, man?" Ethan sat up, breathing hard. His phone lay beside him. Cracked. Dead. No voicemail icon. No trezoset. He laughed shakily. "It was just a nightmare," he whispered. The man helped him to his feet. "You're lucky. This road's dangerous at night." Ethan nodded and walked away. Behind him, unseen, a small roadside motel flickered briefly into existence. Just long enough for one room light to turn on. Room 307. Somewhere, deep within the system, a line rang. And this time, someone else answered. The woman's name was Claire Hudson. She worked the night shift at Ridge County Emergency Services. New job. First week. Graveyard hours. At 2:58 a.m., the station was quiet. Too quiet. Coffee had gone cold. Screens glowed softly. Radio slept. Claire rubbed her eyes and stretched. Just another hour, she murmured. Then, ring. Every light on her console blinked at once. Incoming line. Caller ID, unknown. She frowned. That was strange. Even blocked calls usually showed something. She put on her headset. 911, what's your emergency? Static answered. Then breathing. Slow, calm, familiar. Claire's fingers tightened. Hello? She said again. A man's voice came through, steady and tired. Yeah, I think I'm lost. Claire glanced at her screen. No location data. No GPS ping. Sir, can you tell me where you are? A pause. Then the man replied, almost apologetically. I'm at a motel. Claire typed quickly. Okay, what's the address? Another pause. Longer this time. I don't think it has one. Her heartbeat picked up. Sir, she said carefully, what's the room number? The breathing on the other end deepened. 307. The room temperature dropped. Claire swallowed. She'd grown up in Ridge County. Everyone had heard the story. The fire. The missing guests. The room that was sealed forever. That motel burned down 20 years ago, she said quietly. There's no one there. The man chuckled softly. That's what they all say. Claire felt a chill crawl up her spine. Sir, are you in danger? Yes, the man replied. But not from what you think? The line crackled. Then his voice changed. It became closer, clearer. Tell me something, Claire, he said gently. When the phone rings, her screen flashed. Call duration 307. Do you believe it's always meant to be answered? Claire tried to remove her headset. Her hands wouldn't move. I need to transfer this call, she whispered. No, the voice said, still calm, still kind. You need to listen. Images filled her mind, places she'd never been. A motel room, peeling wallpaper, a door that never opened from the inside. People answering phones, people disappearing. You're very good at listening, the voice continued. That's why it chose you. Claire's console lights went dark one by one. The other operators were gone. The station felt empty. What do you want from me? She asked, tears forming. A gentle sigh. Nothing tonight, the voice replied. Just stay on the line. The call timer stopped at 3:07. The screen went blank. Silence returned to the station. Minutes later, a supervisor walked in and froze. Claire sat at her desk, headset on, eyes open, unblinking. Claire, he called. Are you okay? She didn't respond. On her screen, one new notification blinked softly. Missed call, room 307. Outside, far beyond the city lights, a lone motel sign flickered on beside the highway. And somewhere in the dark, a phone began to ring. The end. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to hit the like button. Share it, so others can experience this journey too. And yes, make sure to subscribe to the channel, because the next stories are going to be even more thrilling.